everybody, welcome to another episode in my carving axe series. This is Max from Woodsman's Finest. Today I have the big pleasure to introduce to you the Borsuk, the Badger. This is another collaboration project between me and Maxim of Wild Fields Forge out of Ukraine, and I couldn't be more excited about this one, so stay tuned. So if you have been following me for a little bit longer, you know that the Carving Axe series has been going on for the better part of 6 years, even longer than that. I was always really excited about carving axes. In fact, axes and knives are the only reason that I'm actually carving spoons, because I always loved these blades, traveled the world learning about them, and I really wanted to do something with them. So in the early stages of this project, I introduced different axe makers from the world to you. And some of my own projects that I refurbed, restored, vintage axes from around the globe, wherever I had been living in Japan or Northern Ontario. I just love getting my hands on old axes. Recently I traveled through Sweden for 2 months in a camper van, and I just picked up a lot of old axes, and I love learning about the steel, the different geometries they use, and I really adore the history behind it. Now, as you know, I've started designing carving axes for makers with the Craft Carver, and also an axe with Toronto Blacksmith back in 2016 and 17, and then it went on with the really fun collaboration between Fadir, former Swadojich out of Kharkiv, Ukraine, in 2018, and it has been a really wild ride ever since. So we did the Journeyman and the Wayfarer together, and a whole bunch of other tools like hook knives, gouges for cooks and carving, and of course sloit blades. Now, I've been working with Maxim out of Kharkiv as well in Ukraine for the last 3 years nearly, and I actually traveled there last fall to work with Sergey and Alexei from Fadir, and as well with Maxim out of Wild Fields Forge. Now, this is an axe that I designed for him just before the war started, and I don't want to go too much into it, but Maxim has been extremely brave since, as all the other guys have been. So after 2 months of hunkering down, protecting his family and all, he rebuilt his bombed forge and has been working as a one-man show ever since again, and he was able to crank this one out. In fact, he absolutely nailed the first prototype of my design, which is just another testament to his incredible craftsmanship. Now, this is the Borsuk, by the way, the Badger. It is an axe that I wanted to do for a long time. It's very much based on my own principles and approach when it comes to designing carving axes, based on certain proportions, balances, distances, etc., etc., which is kind of a formula I've been using on carving axes I designed for a few years now, and it has proven to be just about what I personally want. Now, with this design, we wanted to do a merge between different cultures. On one side, of course, the long old tradition of axe making since the Norse came to Ukraine over 1,000 years ago. I also wanted to implement some of my personal heritage here from Austria, where we have certain types of hewing and carving axes, and also my Hungarian background. So this is a merge of all of that, but still implementing the different design elements and proportions that I really want in a carving axe. Now, it comes with, just to get this out of the way, Maxim does all of his own leather work, and as you've seen as well in the close-ups, this is some heavy-duty, double-stitched, beautiful buffalo leather. So it's very important for me, for my own tools, for the things that I do, and also my collaboration projects, that the tools come with super heavy covers, because the finely honed edges on these that are absolutely razor sharp need to be protected, and also you need to be protected from them. So I feel like a tool is only ever as good as its protection cover. Now, the Borsuk is a compact but rather medium heavy axe, which I prefer, because after all, gravity is our best friend in avoiding fatigue mentally and physically when it comes to carving, which is really an important aspect in avoiding accidents, which mean injuries with these very sharp tools. The Borsuk is of course made from bearing steel, ball bearing steel, which is my absolute preferred steel for all tools. I have forged it a great bit, and it is extremely tough. Now I'm talking 1000 degrees and you hammer it and it hardly moves, but that does for some of the finest edges and the most tough edges I've ever come across. In fact, these axes between Fadir and Wildfields Forge and myself hold an edge better than any other axe I've ever discovered that are not vintage axes. So the Borsuk is about 32 centimeters in handle length, which is really important for me, and it comes with an ash handle. In fact, these are the most perfect grain I've ever discovered, because these guys in Ukraine really take care of what materials they use. I went for a very heavy knob, a very heavy sheep's foot or fawn's foot at the end for counterbalancing, which is a very important aspect for me in avoiding physical fatigue. I went with a handle design that complements the radius of the edge as good as I could, as I'm mostly spending my time right here in the saddle of the handle, which is a place that gets your hand reasonably very close to the edge in distance, which aids in accuracy, in stability of the axe. There's a couple other proportions in this axe that facilitate this exact precision, and then of course lack of fatigue, because you don't have to hit stuff twice that you could also hit just once. The 600 gram head is really much the sweet spot for me to be efficient and effective at the same time. It is very dense and compact, which is another very important thing for me, and has a lot of material in the pole and in the eye to balance the axe pretty much horizontally, which is really important for me, because before every cut there's always a backswing. So I do not personally like very much these axes that are very bit heavy, if you will. Now they of course come with a 30-degree zero grind, which is really important for me. It is as well the sweet spot between edge holding capability and acuteness of cut. A deep beard to a certain point that has become my sweet spot as well, and a rounded pole allow me to use this as an optimized spoon and treen carving axe. There's a lot of carving axe designs out there. Some of them are based on old carpenters' axes, and all of those are really beautiful and pretty axes, but for me it is so important to have an optimized tool for what I am doing. So I'm not just chopping with this axe or cutting with this axe, but I'm carving with this one. And I don't do just spoons, I do a lot of different projects, and I use this as a stock knife, I use it as a chisel, I use it for very advanced carving techniques, or not quite advanced, but advanced in the process of the spoon, if you will. So I try to design something that is not only kind of leaning towards historical artifacts, but it was supposed to as well implement all of the things that are important for me in a optimized carving axe. So because of that, there are certain tapers of the bit itself. There is a certain weight distribution within the axes I've talked about, and as well, of course, the haft is really important. Now, the haft is something that I always try to design in a way that is comfortable and usable for as wide of a range of people as possible. But we are all very individual with different size of hands and stature and so on and so forth. So we're going against using any metal wedges in the carving axes, because I want people to be able to quickly drill the wedge out and take the haft out and carve their own. We're also going to be releasing this one, of course, as a head only, I think, in the future. As well, the haft can be always carved. Another great thing about having beautiful grain direction and grain orientation in these axes is, of course, that it is very easy for you at home to add certain facets to it, making it octagonal, hexagonal, whatever you want to do. So I always encourage people to recarve their handles and hafts of tools as much as they personally want. The axe is forged to finish, which is another thing that I absolutely admire in Maxim's work. He is a true connoisseur of forging. He has a huge collection of artifacts at home that he has found himself, or that he collected over the years, and he takes great pride in learning from the old masters from hundreds of years ago. So he's forging all of his axes to finish. Now just a word about how these gonna be sold. Maxime, as I said before, has really against all odds started forging again, and also the postal service is working again. So what we're gonna be doing with these axes is that we're gonna be dropping batches, which means Maxime is going to be working on certain batches at a time, certain numbers at a time, and whenever they become available, they're going to go on my website, and they're going to be available on my website, and then they're also going to be available for immediate shipping. So there is no pre-orders anymore. You don't have to worry about your axes not going to be made because of the instability of the situation over there, and I really hope that that is going to change, of course, very soon for the sake of all the people. But as far as these axes go, they're gonna be available as a drop type of deal. So right now, as this video is probably airing on this weekend, today is the 9th, I think, of July, we're working on a batch right now that is gonna be available from the mid of next week, and then so on and so forth. I have to be quite honest, I am very taken with this design. Not only is it just fun to look at, and I'm trying not to really blow my own horn here, toot my own horn here too much, but it has a lot to do with what actually Maxime does with these. I am just a humble little craftsman who is just absolutely taken by tool design and axe designs in special, in particular, and I'm finding to be very fortunate that I have these craftsmen that I can work with while I can concentrate on my own work, and we have this fun collaborations where people with different expertises come together and learn from each other. And so I see myself in a very fortunate position of making my dream axes come true by being able to work with these guys. Now folks, I'm sorry, this video might be a little bit blown out as far as wind and exposure. It was a rather foggy day today, so I thought it would be great for a video. But I hope everything is audible as far as possible, and I hope that I made you interested in this piece. Now, with how the times are going right now in Europe, and of course in Eastern Europe, prices are going up for everything in an absolutely drastic and rapid fashion. So the very realistic things for us is to keep the prices as low as we can, but keep them as high as we have to in order to make a living. Get the people compensated who are involved with this, which means that we can continue to work on our craft and bring these absolutely handmade things to people around the world, which are heirloom items, highly usable, and good for several lifetimes to use if you are treating them well. And this is a type of message I've been trying to spread for the better part of the last 10 years. And I hope that I'm reaching you with this without without sounding too pretentious or anything, but there is still a very big difference between products out there and the people that you're supporting, and what the future brings if you're putting your hard-earned funds towards the right cause. So thank you very much for tuning in today. You're gonna find all of my courses, which are over 110 hours now, 42 or 43 courses on Boon TV. There is a link below that is a discount link, which you have to only pay $5 for the first month, and you get all access to all of the courses at once, which are sharpening, tons of carving courses, tons of decoration, different signature spoon styles of mine. So just head over there. I think we are over 10 or 12 hours now only in sharpening. So there is a lot to be learned over there, and like I said, the first month is only €5. Please check it out. You also find woodsmansfinest.com below, where you find all of my own work and all of my collaboration pieces. So thank you very much for the support. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe, and I hope to catch up soon. Cheers.